Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Charles Manson is alive in a headscarf. How many more must we bring in? I'm not into balloons. I'm not into flowers. I'm not into clowns at the sight of another Islamic slaughter. I turn to the Bible. The Bible's very clear. It's real clear. If any harm follow, then thou shalt give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. In that sense, the Bible makes sense. It's the only thing that these subhumans understand. But instead, we're going softly into the night. How many more children have to die? Savage asks today. Simple question. When is enough going to be enough for this left-wing cabal, which continues to ignore this horrific threat from within? As the news was breaking last night, you could see the horror unfolding only on Fox News. And what was CNN and MSNBC doing? They were arguing about Comey and Russia and collusion, a non-story, while ignoring real crises in the world. The local San Francisco newspaper said an explosion at a concert occurred. Was it a gas explosion? Was it a spontaneous combustion of paint rags? Ignoring the fact that this evil was being invited into this nation and all European nations for the last number of years is what we are talking about. Trump says he wants to stop it. But is that what Hillary Clinton wanted to do? Is it enough for us to sit here and watch our children being torn to ribbons with nail bombs and invite in more of them and let CAIR dictate the terms of how the police and Border Patrol and DHS can do their jobs? Yes, this is what they want. BBC left-wing talking head Katie Kay on with a show on MSNBC this morning even admitted, she said, Europe just has to get used to this. Can you believe this? An 18-year-old girl excited because she just got her driver's license shredded to ribbons by a nail bomb planted by an ISIS adherent. An 8-year-old girl, her whole life in front of her, macerated. Her mother and sister macerated in a hospital, having nails pulled from their injured bodies. And we're supposed to get used to this? I'm not going to get used to this. And you shouldn't get used to this. Yesterday we watched President Trump stand in front of the Muslim leaders of the world and tell them to drive these subhumans out of their countries. I hope he's got more plans to get rid of these terrorist cretins than just words. I was not happy with his speech this morning calling them losers. This has to stop, and it has to stop now. How many more children have to die, I ask? And here's the main question of the day. What would you recommend be done to stop Islamic terror in the United States of America? What would you recommend be done to stop Islamic terror in the U.S.? The gloves are off. The lights are lit. The board is hot. The number is 855-400-7282. You, the American people who know what is going on, what would you recommend be done? Last night I was watching a military channel documentary, as I often do. And it was about British commandos in World War II who took on a mission that they knew they would never return from. They were told it was a one-way mission to blow up a dry dock in Germany in the height of the war. Most of these young boys knew they would never return, but they did it anyway. The British are made of better stuff than Theresa May. The British are made of better stuff than the garbage that is running England today. And don't think there aren't many Brits today who are not willing to give their lives for the nation. Just as there are many Americans who are giving their lives for the nation. The problem is the cowardly, lying, thieving politicians on both sides of the aisle. Where are they today? Where is the outrage? I'm sick of the balloons. I'm sick of the clowns. Don't bring in the flowers and the balloons. Bring in an eye for an eye. Tell us how you're going to get even. Tell us how you're going to stop them from doing it here in the United States of America and killing our children. We were told recently by the head of the FBI at the time, Mr. Comey, that there were 1,000 active investigations in all 50 states of Muslim terrorists who they were following. Well, the subhuman who was behind the one in England was apparently being followed by the British so-called intelligence services, which apparently are not that intelligent. Why didn't they preemptively detain him? Were they afraid of Wolf Blitzer? They're afraid of the schizophrenics on television? What has to happen? One of the craziest speeches I've ever heard in my life was that of CNN's Jake Tapper, who said something yesterday that is not borderline schizophrenic, but is borderline idiotic. I don't know how to put it. Well, I'll play it for you. Tell me if you think this is the statement of a rational person who should have a job in the media. Listen to O2.
Why do you think President Trump, for all the Muslim baggage he brings with him, that I don't need to rehash, I don't think, again, is being greeted so much more warmly than President Obama, whose father was actually a lapsed Muslim, and who certainly didn't bring anything along those lines when he went on his first trip to the Muslim world?
CNN's Tapper, is he a lapsed human? Is he a lapsed intelligent human? Is he a lapsed evolved human? Are these people actually human, or are they cretinists? What is wrong with these people? But anyway, the reason I'm playing Jake Tapper is he symbolizes to me everything wrong with the American media. People who are vapid but pretend they're intelligent. People who look good on the outside who are really nothing on the inside. And people who have no brains for survival who are leading us over the cliff. So I bring it back to you. How many more children have to die? Are you afraid of a guy like Jake Tapper? You're afraid of these school moms in the media who will lecture you if you do what has to be done, I say to my government? See, once again, the government has failed them in England because of so many different reasons. I mean, you could put it any way you want. Political correctness, it doesn't have any meaning anymore. It's worn out. It's plain old political cowardice. It's called capitulation. It's capitulating to the Nazis in headscarves before they're all on their knees praying to Mecca. Shall I say that again? Because that's what's coming. Follow the arc of what's going on in England, and you'll see the entire nation on their knees praying to Mecca, unless the men of England stand up and take their nation back, and the same is true in this country. I bring it back to you. What would you recommend be done to solve Islamic terrorism in the United States of America? How many more children have to die? There are other topics. There are other topics not directly related. Price tag on universal health care is in California, and it's bigger than California's budget. The liberal retards keep screaming about single-payer health care system. That's what you see in all the liberal publications. Single payer, single payer, single payer, single payer. Well, if that was introduced, it would cost $400 billion. And it would mean that it exceeds all of the budget in the state of California. But the liberals haven't backed off. What they want is everyone to get free health care, including all the illegal aliens who have snuck into our nation, in addition to covering all undocumented people, meaning illegal aliens who don't have any entitlement to health care. The goal is to expand health access to people who, even with insurance, may skip doctor visits or stretch out medications due to high costs and copays and deductibles. This is what's running the dialogue in America. Fanatical university fools who have never lived in the real world. They're killing us all. They're bankrupting us all. This is the Savage Nation. The phone number is 855-407-2822. And if that's not enough for you, here's another topic. For years, we have been regaled with the lie that man evolved from a lineage in Africa. I've said that is not true. I said to you that when I grew up, it was pretty clear that man evolved from Mesopotamia. That was known scientific knowledge for ages. And then all of a sudden, along with the political correctness of our time that has poisoned virtually everything, the Lysenkoism, as I called it, in my book, Government Zero, where I pointed out how they polluted science, which has become so political that there's really almost no science left in some fields at all. It's all politics, as it was under Joseph Stalin in the Soviet Union. Real scientists are driven out of science, are not allowed into science. In order to get a grant, you have to show in advance you're going to give them the results that they want in order to prove a particular political point. So we were told that all man evolved from Africa. Now, I have nothing against Africa, a beautiful continent, but I didn't think it was true based upon the knowledge that I had and what I had researched. And I will remind you, I'm a highly educated man with many higher degrees. I'm not your run-of-the-mill talking head. So it's come out now that man evolved from Europe, not Africa, based upon some new fossil evidence. I can guarantee you this will not make it to the nightly news. Truth is dead, but the Savage Nation is alive. The radio show is here. Now, let's go back to the so-called concert from this girl I never heard of, Ariana Grande. I'm sure she makes more money than I do. But Hitler had a lot of money, too. I love when people say, well, he makes more money than you. Well, Hitler had more money than anybody in Germany after what he stole. What does have money have to do with it? Ariana Grande, according to the Hollywood Reporter, once said in 2015, I hate Americans, I hate America, after she licked donuts, unpurchased donuts on a display rack, while the shop employees weren't looking. I hate Americans, she continued, I hate America. And another article came out about this fine teen pop star in yesterday. She said, my mom thought I would be a serial killer. The singer told Billboard that her mom was worried that she grew up to become a serial killer. Quoted, she says, for my 5th birthday party, we had a Jaws theme, and all my friends left crying. Grande told the magazine. I mean, I still am that way. But when I was little, it was more concerning. There was a stage when I was 3 or 4 where my mom thought I might grow up to be a serial killer. She went on to call herself a very weird little girl who idolized Freddy Krueger and Marlene Dietrich. Dark and deranged, she said, I always wanted to have skeleton face paint on or be wearing a Freddy Krueger mask. And I would carry a hockey stick around. I was like a mini Helena Bonham Carter, she revealed. I'm not blaming her for the bomb, but I'm asking a certain question. What was her appeal to children? Now, the issue is not her. She's just another dumb student of pop culture who became dumber than the pop culture that she was raised on. The issue is the poor dead and maimed children from yesterday's travesty conducted by Islamic terrorists in England. That's the real issue. And the main question is, what would you recommend be done to stop, I'll say it again, I'll make it very simple. What would you do to stop Islamic terror in the United States of America? The lines are pretty jammed up. The phone number is 855-407-282. I'll make it a little more provocative, if you can't think it through for yourself, because I've raised it several times before, with a question, which is this. Should all those on the FBI or DHS watch lists who are being watched by our fearless anti-terror, whatever they are, should they be put into preventive detention before they kill some children? I know it shocks the civil libertarians to say such a thing, and they have right to fear that innocents may be put on that list. And civil libertarians will always say, I'd rather see 99 terrorists go free, 99 guilty terrorists go free, than one innocent terrorist be arrested. Well, if it's your daughter being macerated by a nail bomb, I would say the reverse is true. Have a nice break. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
All the stories have been told of kings in days of old, but there's no England now.
Oh, yes, there's an England now. Yes, it's all the men and women who voted for Brexit. There's an England for sure. That's not the London mayor. That's not England. No, that's not England. I haven't heard from that loudmouth mayor of London, have you? Who celebrated what should not have been celebrated? If any harm follow, then thou shalt give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. I guess it's not advanced enough for our society. What we need is some deplorable liberal judges to interpret right for wrong from us. How's that working out for the crime wave in San Francisco? How's that working out for the crime waves in most major cities of America? Not very well. So there are many things that could be done if we had a legitimate government, which we don't. Trump came to power telling us that he would take care of these things. He said he would ban the immigration of Muslims from certain countries. Put an X through that one. And, of course, in 2016, he said, I think Islam hates us. There's a tremendous hatred there. And he was roundly chewed out for that. During a debate on October 9th with his Democratic rival, he said, these are radical Islamic terrorists, and Clinton won't even mention the word. Nor will President Obama, Trump said. Now, it is true when he was in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, yesterday or so, or the day before, he did say that Muslim nations must be willing to take on the burden if we are going to defeat terrorism and send its wicked ideology into oblivion. And he used the words Islamist terror groups. He didn't use that. It was in his written speech, but he didn't use that. He turned it into Islamists and Islamic terror of all kinds. Meaning he got as close as any president could get to saying it like it is. Compared to the 8 years under the Islamophile president that we had before, that's a big word for Jake Tapper. That's several syllables right there. Islamophile. That's what Obama was, an Islamophilic man. He could never find anything wrong with any Muslim, no matter what they did. And that is because both fathers were Muslims. His first natural father was a Muslim, and then his adopted father was a Muslim. Nothing wrong with that, but that made him soft on Islamic terror. And so we voted in someone who promised us he would be hard on Islamic terror. And I'd like to know what's going on at the DHS, the FBI, the NSA right now. Are they still busily listening in on conservatives' actions and emails and phone conversations? Or have they turned their attention where we wanted it to be turned, where it never was turned? And moreover, the big question is, what would you recommend be done to solve Islamic terror in the West? How many more children have to die from nail bombs? Would you agree with me? Would you agree with me that we should consider that the government preventively detain all those on terror watch lists immediately before they put a nail bomb in your daughter's preschool? Shall I make it any more clear?
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
An incident like this occurs, whether it's in the U.S. or Belgium or France or England in this case, the next day we see the heavily armed men go in with the vests and the machine guns. Why don't they go in a day before and raid the homes of the people that they know are going to do it? What I'm about to tell you has not been reported widely in the media. This refugee with his entire pack of rat family came from Libya. Father was a security worker at the airport. Ramadan, that was the father's name. Oh yeah, Ramadan was a security worker at the airport. But here's something you don't know. Unconfirmed reports in Manchester that the entire family, apart from the two eldest sons, recently fled back to their native Libya. I'm supposed to believe that it was him acting alone. It wasn't the hatred in the cauldron of his government-owned flat. Oh, no wonder he was on the watch list. Radicalized in the last couple of years, we hear, but not arrested. Neighbors describe Abidi as a native of Libya as an abrasive, tall, skinny young man who was little known in the neighborhood. None of them knew him. Now they don't know him. No, I don't know him. No, never saw him before. No. Oh, but he wears traditional Islamic clothing. Ranting messages threaten further attacks on, quote, worshippers of the cross. Ooh. 22 killed after the concert. Suicide bomber Salman Abidi. The 22-year-old Manchester-born attacker was heard chanting Islamic prayers loudly in the street outside his home in the south of the city. Abidi is the third of 4 children by Libyan refugees who came to the UK to escape the Gaddafi regime. They are believed to have lived in the fallow land area of South Manchester for 10 years. I wonder what the welfare cost was for the last 10 years. added up and down for medical, dental, legal, shoes, hairdos. You know, it cost a lot for the English to take care of the refugees. And what about Theresa May, the great prime minister who had nothing to say? She called them cowards. Yeah, that's the most she could say. Okay. Comes as dramatic pictures emerge showing anti-terror police swooping to arrest a 23-year-old man in Manchester after last night's atrocity. Really? Registered as having lived with his mother, Samia Tabal, Father Ramadan. Okay, you get the picture. On a watch list, chanting Islamic prayers. They know he's an extremist. They know he's about to go off like a rocket. And the police have their hands tied by the Jake Tappers and the Wolf Blitzers and the liberal lawyers of England, in my estimation. They're afraid of the twits at the BBC. They can't. You think that the police can't do their job, whether it's in America or here? Are you crazy? You think these muscle-bound police are not capable of wringing their necks? Ripping them out and wringing their necks in the streets if they had to? As they should do! We are at war, you stupid idiots. You're so brain damaged. You're so whipped by the fools and the drug addicts in the media. You don't even understand it when children are being blown up by nail bombs, that you are living through a war and we're not fighting a war. We're not fighting a war with one hand behind the back. We're not behind our backs. We're not fighting the war at all. We're doing zero, nothing. Again, I go back to a World War II documentary last night on a History Channel. British commandos, they all knew they were going on a one-way mission to blow up a dry dock in Germany at the height of the war, because this dry dock was the only dry dock that was built large enough to take the Tirpitz, a massive battleship the size of the Bismarck. And if they blew up the dry dock, the Tirpitz would not be operational, and it would not be able to go out into the sea and sink Allied ships. So the brilliant men who fought and won World War II against the Nazis got a commando team together, and it was hundreds of men. They all knew they were going to give their lives. They were told it was probably a one-way trip into this heavily armed German dry dock. And they did it anyway. You're telling me we don't have such men today? Look around you. They exist. They exist. The problem is we don't have the leadership or the will to defend ourselves. We have committed suicide as a civilization. Take a look at the music. Take a look at the movies. Take a look at the filth put out by HBO. Look at the garbage that passes for comedians on HBO. Take a look at the constant attacks on Christianity by the low-life, drug-addicted filth on HBO and Showtime, and you'll understand what happened to this culture. The men who could do the job to save us before they blow up a nightclub with little girls in it are called racists. They're called sexists. They're called homophobic. And they are destroyed before they can act. I rest my case, ladies and gentlemen of the Savage Nation. I can say a lot more. But what I've said to you thus far is really quite enough. Because we all know what must be done. We all think it in our hearts. The minute something like this happens, our human instincts kick in. And the first thing we think is, get them before they do it again. Send in the men, break in the doors, pull them out, wring their necks, detain them. And then immediately we check it with, we can't do that because of Arnold at the ACLU. We can't do that because of Marvin at NYU Law. We can't do that because of the twits in the streets from Bolt's School of Law. Yes, we can. Yes, we will. And yes, we must in order to survive. Not only as a nation, but as a civilization, or these vermin, these subhumans will destroy all of us, if not physically, then spiritually, culturally, and socially. There. Write it down. It's quite succinct. But if you were given the opportunity, would you agree with me that we should at least consider preventively detaining, and I mean into a semi-permanent holding area, in a humane way, all of those on terror watch lists right now? Now, I understand the civil libertarians' concerns, but I don't care about them right now. We're at war. Did you hear what I just said? It's very nice to have a civil libertarian approach to the niceties of civility and libertarianism, when you're living in a civilized society, but we're no longer living in a civilized time, nor is our society civilized anymore. It has been invaded. It has been invaded with people who don't even understand what civility means. They come from a different universe. They laugh at us. They use our laws as a Trojan horse to kill us and to poison us. Then they have front groups for the Brotherhood, front groups who have poisoned the government itself, front groups who have poisoned the DHS, the FBI, the NSA, the CIA, front groups who are as high as into the presidential suite itself under Obama anyway, and I don't know if they're gone yet. We don't know if they've been gone. All of these advisors to President Obama, how many are still in there, whispering in the ears of the men in the intelligence services, no, 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 you can't think that. No, 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 you can't do that. No, 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 you mustn't. How many of these front groups for these radical Islamic groups, and I don't care what their initials are still operational in the government? Do we know if Trump has purged them all? I doubt it. If he even blinks in that direction. The lowlifes in the media attack him for wanting to protect us. We are at war. This is not a crime. Let me be very clear. This is not a crime issue. This is a war issue. We are at war, only we're not fighting a war. We're fighting it as though it's crime. All right, so you want to take it as a crime issue? Then fight it like organized crime was fought. Bring in men like Rudy Giuliani and go after them, and I mean all the cells in the U.S., all of the hate mosques in the U.S., of which there are many. Don't think that they're not here. All of the Muslim training camps, the last I checked, there were quite a few of them operational with weapons, practicing shooting and practicing things like that. Many of these training camps exist in this country, and if you think it's a conspiracy theory, you're a fool. They're functioning in training camps right under our noses, and the FBI knows where they are. The DHS knows where they are, and they look the other way. Instead, they focus on conservatives who want to save America, more particularly want to prevent little girls from being blown apart by nail bombs. That's how sick and twisted this country has become after not 8 years, but I would say 8 and 8, maybe 20 years of drip, 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 drip of left-wing poison. It's a savage nation, not a pleasant topic. I'm not here to give you the ultimate solution, but there are ultimate solutions. Now let's turn to Chelsea Clinton. Here is one of the dumbest people in the history of politics who gave a speech the other day about Islamophobia. I'm not making this up. Listen to the idiocy. Well, I guess you could say the onion doesn't fall far from the onion tree. Listen to this one in 01.
We also have to recognize, particularly at this moment, that sexism is not an opinion. Islamophobia is not an opinion. Racism is not an opinion. Homophobia is not an opinion. Jingoism is not an opinion.
Are you listening to this?
And so I think we, in our posture of listening, also have to get comfortable with standing up and speaking out.
I'll turn it because this nauseous little girl was always a blight upon the American political landscape. But she's not the issue. She is a symptom of the issue, the bigger issue of the poison, the toxic poison of the left. And so I don't have much more to say on this issue. Much. I have a lot more to say on it. And here's some other facts for you. Nearly 740,000 foreigners overstayed U.S. visas last year. That's 750,000. Nearly 740,000 foreigners who were supposed to leave the United States during a recent 12-month period overstayed their visas, the so-called Homeland Security Department said Monday. How do you like that? Overstays, huh? I wonder where they are. You think they're all at Facebook and Google working away? I don't think so. And speaking about that, about IT workers, did you hear that report? Oh, no, didn't make it to the San Francisco newspapers about the IT workers who fled to Pakistan. Oh, that's an interesting story. And I'll tell you all about the Dem IT staffers who are under investigation for security breach, who all fled to Pakistan. See if you can get that to Mark Zuckerberg before another nail bomb goes off. Back in a minute.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
You're listening to Michael Savage. Coming up tomorrow morning from 5 to 9, it's the KSFO Morning Show on Talk Radio 560 KSFO.
You know, we're talking about this horrible, horrible thing, this perpetration of an atrocity on little girls. And I want to tell you about, you know, something that's not on that order, but the massive cyber attack by the ransomware called WannaCry. It's another, you know, it's a form of terrorism. It hit 200,000 victims across nearly 100 countries. It's a horrible computer virus which locks your files and demands you pay $300 to regain access to your own data or lose your files forever. Well, these cyber attacks can lead to identity theft, and to safeguard against this epidemic and giving hackers access to your data, apply the latest security patch, back up your computer, and do regular malware scans. It's good advice. Identity theft is America's fastest growing crime. It happens when thieves use your information to pretend that they are you. They can buy things on your credit, liquidate bank accounts, or even get retirement funds. But LifeLock scans hundreds of millions of transactions each second. If they detect your information, they send you an alert. If you have a problem, a U.S.-based agent will work to fix it. Free credit monitoring only alerts you to changes in credit. You know no one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but you also know LifeLock is the best identity theft protection available. Memberships start at $9.99 a month plus taxes. Go to LifeLock.com or call 1-800-LifeLock. Use promo code SAVAGE. That's SAVAGE for 10% off your LifeLock Ultimate Plus membership. Go to LifeLock.com/Savage. Save 10% now. It's a good thing to do. Callers, Donna, WFTL, 30 seconds or less. Your solution to stopping the next terror attack, the next atrocity on our children by Islamic terrorists. What would you do?
Thank you. This is common American sense. You displace them. You move them as you suggested. Detain them. Remove the sleeper cells, whether you have to go in a mosque or not. It is time for us to deal with this war in our country and abroad if necessary.
Okay. Thank you for the call. She said detain them. What does she mean by that? Well, the FBI said under Comey when he was FBI chief, they had 1,000 active investigations of would-be terrorists. If they know who they are and they're following them around, what are they waiting for? Another nail bomb in a little child's auditorium? What country are we living in? An insane country that's been destroyed from within by the Trojan horse of the drug-addicted liberals. Now, let me get back to that story I hinted at. Fired Democrat IT staffers under investigation for security breach have all fled to Pakistan. Daily Caller Luke Rosiak, a criminal suspect in an investigation into a major security breach on the House of Representatives computer network, abruptly left the country and gone to Pakistan with her family, which has significant assets and VIP-level protection, a relative and others told the Daily Caller. Hina Alvi, her husband Imran Awan, and his brothers Abid and Jamal were very highly paid, shared IT administrators working for multiple House Democrats until their access to congressional IT systems was terminated February 2nd as a result of the investigation. Capitol Police confirmed the investigation is ongoing. No arrests were made. The Awans are accused of stealing equipment from members' offices without their knowledge and committing serious, potentially illegal violations on the House IT network. Are you ready for the rest of the story? Many of the stupid Democrats who employed the Awans are members of the House Committee on Homeland Security, the Committee on Foreign Affairs, and the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Their positions gave them access to members' emails and confidential files. It gets even worse. In addition, the Pakistani Imran was given the password for an iPad used by then Democratic National Committee Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a Florida Democrat. The five came to the U.S. from Pakistan. Citing privacy concerns, Twitter didn't flag a pro-ISIS tweet 4 hours prior to Manchester attack. Are you listening to this? 2 tweets appeared to predict the suicide bombing at the concert. Twitter refused to flag the pro-ISIS tweet hours prior to the Manchester attack. Is it time for the government to clamp down on Facebook and Twitter and not leave it in the hands of these greedy pigs who run these companies for profit, not for our safety or our salvation? The answer is, of course, yes. In any sane nation, the government would step in and seize control of Twitter and Facebook. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Where does this guy get his energy? Where in the world did he get his energy? Is he still around? It is the Savage Nation spinning records for you and throwing out some ideas. Phone numbers 855-407-2828, 855-SAVAGE, 400-SAVAGE. So there's a lot of balls in the air. There's a lot of topics. Now they're making a big deal. Trump goes triumphantly to Saudi Arabia. Wows them. Melania wows them. Now he's in Israel. So what do the schmucks in the media do? Melania does not really want to hold Donald's hand. That's their big news story. Can you figure this one out? Why that's such a big deal? They get off Air Force One, fly in from Riyadh. They're landing now in Tel Aviv. Come down on the plane, and she slaps his hand away after the couple touches down in Israel. Why is that such a big deal? He was reaching out to touch her, and she wasn't in the mood. She's a woman. It's not like she's mad at him. I see this a different way. Why do they have to do a thing like this and make this the whole... This now is bigger than his triumphant tour of Saudi Arabia. You hear this? Because of the schmendricks in the media. Video shows the Donald reaching for Melania's hand as they walked along the tarmac after disembarking from AF-1 as they land in Tel Aviv. Melania is dressed in sunglasses and a sharp white pencil skirt and blazer, and she can be seen just gently swatting his hand away. So what is the big deal there? It doesn't mean she's rejecting him. It's not like a conjugal rejection. She's hot, she's tired, she's exhausted, she's bored. And he reaches out to hold her hand. And I guess, in a way, you could say there's a tiny bit of don't hold my hand right now, I'm not in the mood kind of thing. A little of that. But she's a woman, number one. I don't think she really wanted to be the little woman kind of thing. If you want to look at it that way, it's not like rejecting him. It was like, in a way, it's patronizing for the man to put his arm on her, to grab her hand while walking. That's A. But maybe he needed the comfort of the wife's hand. Maybe he wanted to feel supported around all of the wonderful people in Israel. Probably had a better time in Saudi Arabia than he's going to have in Israel with the Meshuggahs over in Israel right now. Oh, you can't believe the stuff they're writing about him before he got there. Calling him every name under the sun. They cooled to him already in Israel. Where's that story? Dreyfus to De Niro, covered already. I thought that'd be a big one, not a call. Here. Israelis worry Trump's changing stand looks more and more like Obama's. All right, then they got all the kvetches in Israel. They don't like anybody in Israel. They don't like themselves. Every day they wake up with like dyspepsia and complaining about something. So now they don't like Trump that much. So that's all. He's like any politician said, Shlamit Levran, an art student at Hebrew U. They say one thing, and then after they're elected, they do another. I see no difference. Trump and Obama, they want the same thing, said Eli Adler, a 60-year-old shopkeeper in downtown Jerusalem. They just serve it up in a different dish. Cynicism, by the way, has more than a tinge of truth in it. Adler says he doesn't think Trump and his deal-maker reputation will prove any more effective than Obama was in bringing a resolution to the decades-long Israeli-Palestinian standoff. Decades-long? It's biblical. It's like Cain and Abel. Nothing's going to happen over there. If you raise your children to kill Jews, what do you want to have? Give them a state next to you so they can kill your children? What do you want the Israelis to do? Okay, I know. They stole the land. That's coming now from the leftists. Why don't you give your house away to a Native American? Go out and look for a Native American over there in Berkeley and give your house away to someone whose land that you stole it from. I love it. Big to tell the Jews what to do with their life. All right, whatever. So he's there now. Then what? Then he goes on to the Pope. Then he goes on to Sicily. That's the one part I miss. I wish I was. Is the state dinner in Sicily. That's the one thing, is the food's got to be better than anywhere. How good could the food be in Saudi Arabia? I don't know what they don't look like they're healthy. They don't live that long, despite all the pampering. They're miserable. First of all, they don't walk. It's too hot. Everything they do is like by car, jet. They live degenerate lives. They fly to London. You know what they do to the hotels over there? Have you heard anything from the hotel owners in England, what they do when they fly in, the princes? They like cook a lamb on the floor in the best hotel. They burn the rug in the wood, then they pay for it. They throw like $1 million down to there. Anyway, and this Anthony Weiner thing. What are you going to say about that? He was in good shape for a perv. I wonder how he kept in such good shape. We'll see what shape he's in after a month in the slammer when they make him wear a dress. Will they put him in protective? I wonder if Anthony Weiner gets a protective. If I were him, I'd grow a beard immediately. He got busted. Finally, they're putting him away. I'm sorry. The crotch shot with the child next to him, this is nothing what they gave him. The child should have been taken away, number one. And number two, well, you don't want to hear anything about it because he's a Democrat. Weiner's charge carried into a judge will decide if Weiner should do any hard time. Oh, that's a funny double entendre. Should Anthony Weiner do any hard time? Come on. Don't play with that. That's not funny. So there's a lot of things in the news that can get you crazy looking at it. Melania, dressed in sunglasses, slapped his hand away. She didn't slap, pushed. She didn't want to touch his hand on the tarmac in Tel Aviv. You know, it could be that you're not looking at it the right way. Let me explain something that no one saw yet in the media. They land in Israel, and they're walking down the tarmac after Air Force One lands. They flew in from Riyadh. Short flight, but it was a long trip in Saudi Arabia. Exhausting, what she had to put up with there, with all of the men gaping at her. You know, Western woman doesn't put on the veil. It's like, oh, my God, like a movie star arrived. She's the most beautiful first lady we've had in forever. Much more beautiful than Jackie O. Jackie O was overrated. Jackie O was classy, yes. Tremendous upbringing, spoke with that drawl that got everyone nuts, but inherently not that beautiful. Melania is genetically beautiful. Knockout killer beautiful. And knows how to dress, my God. So she wows the Arabs. Now she comes to Israel. Maybe she's smarter than you think. And by pushing the hand away gently, she's saying, don't hold my hand in front of all the Orthodox Jews. It's not acceptable in their culture. Did you ever think of that? Did you ever think she had more knowledge of the protocol than he did for that moment? No, you didn't think of that. You thought it was a conjugal slap. It wasn't. It could have been a protocol slap, says Savage. See, I'm talking about common sense. You can't read these things. You can't go to the Encyclopedia of Judaica to figure this out. You have to know life. So I would say this was a protocol push rather than a conjugal push away. It's not like she was rejecting him, holding her hand. She was like, wait a minute, we're around all these religious Jews. They don't hold hands with women. The women here don't shake a hand with a man. I mean, if you know Orthodox Jewish people, you try to shake their hands. Like, we don't shake in our community. You know, the first time it's like, oh, okay, I don't get it. With the wig and that, it's like a combo. You don't know what to do. Okay, so you're like, stand there. But it's like a respectful thing. That's why the religious Jews pray separately from women. It's not that they don't like women. It's not debasing. You have to study these things to understand it. If you're just in the journalism profession, what do you know? Nothing. What do you know? Nothing. You know how to roll a joint? Or eat a marijuana cookie? So the thing is that the reason that the Orthodox Jews separate women from men in a house of worship is not because they disrespect women. It's because they totally respect women. And it was explained to me that the reason the women are in a separate area is because the men would look at them and be distracted by them if they were together because they love women so much. Do you understand that? The not so subtle difference between what you think it is and what it actually is? It's not a way to put women down. It's a way of putting women up. That women are so powerful to the Orthodox Jewish man that they separate themselves from them in a house of worship so they can focus on prayer and God. Have you ever heard it explained that way? No, you haven't. That's all. So the hand thing is very, very interesting, but you have to see it in the context, and you have to know something about Judaism, and you have to know something about women, and you have to know something about Melania, who's 10 times smarter than the people think she is. I love all of the idiots in the media who are jealous of her and attack her. The woman speaks 4 languages. I remember when I met her. Yes, I remember when I met her. After that speech she gave in Florida. I was lucky enough to meet her right after that night. So I immediately said to her, by the way, your speech moved me. I was moved to tears. And the reason is because she mentioned God with the prayer in Florida on her own, in that quiet voice of hers. And I said, I understand why you read that, Mrs. Trump. I said, it's because you came from a communist country where God had been driven out by the atheists. And what you're saying to everybody is God is back. And she shook her head and said, yes. I got along with it. Even that little thing I communicated. I was very lucky to have that moment, whether I probably never see her again. I think I'm excommunicated forever now because of a slight mini criticism. Oh, are you kidding? Are you kidding? Jared? It's like Madame Defarge there. Him I'm not a big fan of. I'm sorry. I know he runs the world now. I get it. But there's an eerie part of that thing I don't like at all. I didn't elect him. I'm not saying he's bad. I never said he did anything wrong, the son-in-law. I don't like the fact that he has that much power. He is not an elected official. It's that simple. I live in a democracy. I don't live in a nepotistic world of Napoleon III. Too much power for this kid. Period. End of story. And, of course, if you say it, that's it. That's it. No breakfast, no lunch, no dinner. No dessert, no midnight snack. Not so much as a nod. So, I mean, I'm nodded off from the whole thing now. I'm pretty sure that's it. Unless I'm there and he sees me because he likes me a lot. And I override everybody, but just through my dynamism of my being and my charisma. If I go right up, say, President Trump, it's Michael Savage. Immediately, he'll put his arm around, loves me. But if the son-in-law is there, it's like a shield. The Secret Service will be sicked on me. My head will be forced down into the ice cream. I don't know. I don't think I'll ever be back at Mar-a-Lago. It's enough already. Getting in there and then that. I remember I went there before he was president. It wasn't pleasant to begin with. You saw these 95-year-old men that looked like they came from the moon from all the surgery. Like moon faces. With wives, I don't know, like the young wife and all. Oh, God. So predictable. You talk about slapping a hand away. Like a 95-year-old billionaire with a 50-year-old wife, 40, 30, some of them were. You know, they pick them off the stage or whatever. God, what kind of marriage is that? I mean, for money, I understand they do it. 2 ways, a 2-way street. But how could that be living like that after a while when you know the woman hates your guts? How could you even think of, I don't mean to be vulgar, and I'm not going to be. How could a man that age disrobe in front of a beautiful young woman without feeling like humiliated and embarrassed? This is crazy. Why would you want to put yourself in such a position? Whatever. I'm just thinking out loud. But I didn't like Mar-a-Lago at that time. I met him when he was Donald Trump. That was before he came on the show. Then years later, blah, blah, blah. So then we became this and that. Now he's president. But I think because of the slight minor criticism of the son-in-law, who I didn't vote for, by the way, I think finished. Fartik, over. Back in a minute.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Too sad. It's sad. I want to cry when I hear this. Why is everything the Jewish sad? I don't get it. The Israeli national anthem. Why can't it be cheerful? Terribly boring. I mean, it's depressing, not boring. So they land in Tel Aviv on Air Force One, walk down there, and she pushes the hand away. I told you what it was. It wasn't conjugal. It was cultural, period. She knew that it was wrong. If they held hands in front of Orthodox, there'd be like a big thing. That's it. So they're turning into, oh, she doesn't want to be president. Why? She wants to be somewhere. What stupid people in the media are. I can't believe it. But since they're in Israel, maybe I should give you some Yiddish words. You don't know this. This is an interesting fact of life right now in America, which is that in the 1930s, Yiddish was spoken by more than 10 million people. By the way, what is Yiddish? It's a combination of Hebrew words with Low German words, to put it bluntly. And 10 million people in America spoke this language. And many of them were in New York, by the way. But by 1945, 75% of them were gone. However, many of the words were written into the American vernacular in popular culture. And people don't even know what they mean. Some of you use these words and you don't even know where they come from. I'm not going to read you like you've all heard the word kosher. So you're like, oh, that's not kosher. That is kosher. Well, that means what's acceptable to Orthodox Jews, especially as food, right? It's like halal to the Arab, kosher to the Jew, right? Kosher. But it's taken on another meaning entirely, which is it clean? Or is it honest? Or you say, that doesn't sound kosher. It means it doesn't sound honest, right? Or you heard the word kvetch when I think of Wolf Blitzer. That means to complain or to whine. That's Wolf Blitzer. Or you heard the word, I'm not going to go through the list, maven, an expert. Maybe other words you haven't heard, like to nosh. You want to have a nosh, that's to nibble something, a light snack. You've heard oy vey. I had a Catholic friend who said, it's the equivalent of Ave Maria. That was very funny. She changed it to Ave Maria. That's very funny. To me, it was funny. Shalom means peace. It's better than how you doing, man. Right? It's high-fiving with the hands, like shalom means peace. You've all heard the word drag, schlep. I don't schlep that bronze into the half-man, half-woman's house. Schlep, dragging something. You've heard the word miyush, shlemiel, a clumsy or inept person. Like minor, like a person who always spills his soup on his tie. Schlock, like that's schlocky. Cheap, shoddy, or inferior. You've heard of schlemazel, you've heard of schmendrick. People laugh at these words, but you don't know what it is. You've heard of schmooze, right? Schmoozing, Hollywood. Small talk. Just to be able to schmooze. If you're a good schmoozer, you're good in radio. And then there are other words I don't have to bring up. But some of them are not so, whatever. But he's over there now. I wonder if he's going to throw a little Yiddish around. Look, he grew up in... Trump is from New York. He was in the business of building buildings. So I'm sure he knows a lot of these words. The son-in-law must, even though he's young. From his father, he knows some of these words. Maybe the son-in-law will be the... But the reason that the hand was pushed away on the tarmac, again, just to not lose the forest for the trees here, is not she was rejecting Donald Trump as the schmucks or schlemiels in the media would have you believe. It's because she thought it was not protocol, man and woman touching hands. And remember that. You can take that to the bank from the radio wizard, Michael Savage.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE.
Every time a terrorist murders an innocent person and falsely invokes the name of God, it should be an insult to every person of faith. Terrorists do not worship God. They worship death. If we do not act against this organized terror... I got to tell you something.
Trump made history by going to Saudi Arabia and saying the things he did. And look at the... you want to know what yellow journalism is? We know what it is from what they're doing to him with the fake Russian story. This is yellow journalism today. He gave one of the greatest speeches against Islamic terrorism we've ever heard, especially after the character who preceded him, who would never say the words. No matter what happened, he wouldn't say Islam, wouldn't say terrorism. Trump took it on right in Saudi Arabia, and what are they talking about? The hand. My good friend Challen Yee says, Savage, I think you're right. Trump was walking ahead of Melania, and she behind, trailing respectfully, positioning POTUS first. If she allowed him to bring her forward, it would depreciate the impact of his arrival and his reception. Well, that's another way to look at it. I think it was more like touching hands she felt would be wrong in Israel on the arrival because of the Orthodox Jewish people who do not touch, shake with women. So it's very interesting how yellow journalism, as reflected by the uneducated people in the media, is distorting the view of the world. Period. That's all. Now, we talked about freaks and freak shows, if you want to chime in on that. The end of the Ringling Brothers. I haven't forgotten that. That was excellent. But I'm getting calls now on the hands. That's what they're going to, because that's all people talk about, what the yellow journalists do. That's all. Colleen on KSFO, your opinion, please go ahead.
I have to agree with you 100% about the cultural aspect of...
Of course. I'm always right. When it comes to culture, no one's better than me. But give me your interpretation.
Well, my interpretation is that, first of all, Melania was definitely, we'll say, tutored in the norms, the cultural norms of the area.
Right.
And she's not just acting on her gut, where Trump just ordinarily would go and grab for her hand. It's just what he does. But she had...
Oh, okay, so he was doing what he would normally do when he's walking with her, is reach out and hold his wife's hand.
Exactly.
And she remembers that this is a very serious moment, that they're not just strolling down Fifth Avenue together.
Well, and everybody's watching. They're waiting for her to blink the wrong way.
Yeah.
So the question is...
So look what the yellow journalists did already. They turned it into a situation that it wasn't. They made it into a conjugal rejection. That she doesn't like him. It has nothing to do with not liking him.
Of course not. But
all right, thank you. So I don't know. Look, women see things in a different way. I saw the picture. You know who's a real nut? This Nikki Haley. I think she should be fired. She's crazy. Aggressive when she doesn't have to be aggressive. Nikki Haley to North Korea. Don't give us a reason for a fight. This woman is a nut, a complete nut. Everything she says is off base. Why did he pick her? I don't understand. Who foisted her upon him? Oh, then she says that she's going to give money to the Syrian refugees. You hear this? Nikki Haley. Why did he pick her? What a bad pick she is. You talk about getting rid of people around them. She's a clear and present danger to the safety of the world, in my estimation. Where is her? Where's that one of Nikki Haley? She promises Syrian refugees financial support. Here, let's hear. Okay, you don't even know who Nikki Haley is? No one knows who she is. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley. A pick like this, you don't believe this. We made it clear we don't want to start a fight, so don't give us a reason to have one. You hear this? This one's out of control. Where'd she come from? What's her background, Nikki Haley? I don't even remember. She was something in the South, a governor, whatever. Someone wanted to introduce me to you once at Mar-a-Lago. I refused. I didn't like her before she was something. I didn't care for her. I knew there was something. I knew she was like a greedy and an aggressive type. I felt uncomfortable around her. She's provoking them. Can't she just shut her mouth and be a diplomat instead of a provocateur? Now she says we want to give Syrian refugees financial support. Listen to 18 on the Savage Nation.
Whenever we see anyone in pain, whenever we see anyone in need, we help them. And so I know it's going through the budget process within Congress, but we're the #1 donor here through this crisis. That's not going to stop. We're not going to stop funding this. We're not going to stop doing our part to aid in the crisis. Every person I've talked to, whether it was a group of women, whether it was the families, whether it was the children,
Obama too. She may as well be one of Obama's appointees. We're going to give money still? Or if she found the money, Nikki Haley, it's her own money to give away to the Syrian refugees. That's what we elected Trump to do, is keep giving money away like he owns it, to keep printing money. No, Nikki. No, Nikki, wrong. Go to work for Google better than for the United States government. You do a better job. Give their money away better. Now what? What are we talking about now? Should we take a circus joke or a serious call? Kevin on WABC Line 1, what's your topic?
Hey, Michael. Yeah, I just wanted to say that Trump's presidency has already been ruined by the Kushners. And the reason is, not only did Kushner take $400 million from the Chinese that he had to give back for his failing building, but him and his sister were peddling visas in China last week, the EB-5 visa. And the EB-5 visa program, we already know that 85% of that fraud was committed by the Chinese. In California, they had a big arrest a month ago, with a Chinese lawyer and her father. $50 million in fraud for the EB-5 visa program. And even after that, here she had a sign on the wall in Shanghai, Michael, saying that they have to...
You're talking about Jared Kushner's sister.
Right. And
that was a huge scandal, and there's greed there. You know, I told you I'm obsessed with Madoff, right? Mm-hmm. One of the reasons I talked about Madoff at the beginning and the bad HBO show with Robert De Niro, which was a disaster, is because there's a little bit of Madoff in what you're talking about.
And Trump is basically has lost credibility with us because...
No. Now you're going too far. No, we didn't say Trump. We said the son-in-law. Don't now broaden it.
Explain why. Because how could he possibly, after the $400 million deal, he should have said, listen, I'm not going to fire you, but you're going to go away. Just say you have a family issue. Right at that moment, he should have let him go. Now,
so let me ask you, let's be clear with each other. Let's do a Yiddish phrase. Give me the M's. Did you vote for Trump or not?
Absolutely. Voted for Trump, yeah. But I think a lot of...
But wait a minute, aren't you glad at some of the things he's done so far? Aren't you glad of some of the things he's done?
Yes, but I think honestly, I think Pence is probably going to be president. I don't think Trump is going to make it, and I think the Kushners are going to really hurt.
Well, no, you're just repeating the big lie now that the media is putting out, that he won't make it till Christmas. I think you're wrong.
I
think you're totally wrong. Dr. Michael Savage gives President Trump a prescription to fix his presidency. I disagree with you. Go to Breitbart.com, everybody. Show them that it's worth posting my articles. Colleen Maydeen is a great writer. During Thursday's Savage Nation monologue, see, people do listen to the show, not for jokes. Savage gave Trump a specific series of steps he should follow to solve his problems with leftists intent on creating a false enemy called Russia. And she writes something, Colin writes, although Savage speaks in his impassioned style, that's sort of a double neg. Although he speaks in an impassioned style, that's a double neg. His advice comes across clearly. This isn't an illegible scribble from the family doctor. Look how well that is written. In short, Savage suggests that Donald Trump go on the attack. Savage believes the propaganda damage has been done, but he also says, I will not jump ship. And I'm saying that to the last caller. No, I'm not jumping ship just because of Jared Kushner. Okay? And also stop with the tweeting. I said that. One thing is clear, he writes, Savage remains dedicated to his vision of America's future and has not turned into a cheerleader for the Trump administration, something he promised not to do in his recently published bestseller, Trump's War. Listen to the entire monologue here. So you could link to the monologue on the Breitbart article. And I understand there's an issue here with the son-in-law. I get it. And we're all a little uncomfortable with it. And something's going to change here. I don't like it. I don't like it any more than the average person out there who, is seeing this. That's all. Gary on WABC line 7, what's your topic?
About the hand-holding. That wasn't
okay. Oh, let's go back to the most important thing, Melania pushing his hand away on a tarmac in Tel Aviv. What's your interpretation?
Interpretation is, how hot is it over there? Hot as hell, okay?
Murder.
He's a 60-year-old man, 6'2", 235. He's getting off, he's walking, he's going to start to sweat and get sweaty. This isn't a golf course where you can pick up a towel and wipe your hands off.
You're saying it was just a sweaty hand?
If you're a 47, 48, you're just as hot. You don't want to hold that big, hammy, sweaty hand and then have to take it clammy-like and shake hands with people? Nah, that's what it was all about.
All right, so you think it was a sweaty hand rejection?
Oh, damn straight I do.
Really? But look what they're turning it into with the yellow journalism. She's rejecting him, like, from a wife point of view. You know that's crap, right?
It is.
Nothing to do.
You've been married.
So they're walking on the red carpet with all the dignitaries from Israel. All the Ghanovs are standing there, sweating in the sun. Okay, and then they do a slow-mo, puts out the hand, and she gives a push. It's a good move. You watch the hand. She's quick on that hand, I got to tell you. If you watch the video, then he takes the hand that she pushed away and rubs it down his tie, like to wipe it. To wipe it from the slap. Have you seen the whole thing?
Yeah. A silk tie wipe off. There you go.
No, did you see this? Silk tie wipe off. That's what I'm saying. So he got like he was like wiping off the rejection.
Wiping off some of that perspiration, too.
You got to hand it to her. She came back when he needed her, right, for the big trip to the Middle East.
It's a normal relationship. The press expects something that's, godly, and it's not, okay?
She looks so tough in that white outfit. She looks so macho.
She looked good.
Tough woman.
Walking down Fifth Avenue.
I want to print a bumper sticker that says, don't mess with Melania.
Anyway,
maybe a T-shirt in the two hands, don't mess with Melania. But this is not a filial rejection. It's a cultural rejection. You're turning into a sweaty hand rejection. I think it's because of the religious Jews there, that they don't touch the hands of the women. But that's neither here nor there. But where do you stand on Trump after voting for him? Are you happy, sad, medium? Hung up. See, just when I needed him. All right, whatever. How about the circus? Do we have a circus caller left? One circus person. Is there a person who was in the freak show who wants to tell us what they think? You want me to tell you something about that? I do have to finish up that thought. Now that they're closed down, first of all, they stopped the freak shows years ago. It was a disaster for the people who were born odd. They no longer had work. And what happens is they put them on welfare. They lost their whole society, and they're very lonely. That's not a joke. That's not a very serious thing. They had company in the circus. They had each other. Now they have nothing. Sitting alone in an apartment somewhere, collecting a government check instead of working with, people who are also cursed by nature. It's a terrible thing. Have you ever thought about what you would do if you were born in any such odd way? I every day, thank God, every day, when I start to complain a little bit about this or that in my life, do you know how lucky you are to have two of everything at work at any age? Do you realize the suffering that people go through because they're born in a strange way or in an imperfect way, what it is to live like that? I see people, what they live with, I can't believe they have strength to go on. I don't know how they get it. I really don't know what they derive their strength from. You talk about courage. There are no more brave people on earth than those who are born with certain anomalies and live through it and make a life for themselves. Let me tell you that right now. Back in a minute.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Hello, welcome back. I'm going to tell you about a great night's sleep. Why? Because everybody needs one and it makes for a great day. I'm having a lot of great days because I get a great night's sleep every night on my Casper mattress. I've told you the Casper mattress was invented with two high-tech foams that gives you all the support you need and guarantees you get the best night's sleep ever. Comes to you in a box so small, you're not going to believe it holds a mattress. Very easy to schlep into your bedroom. And I love that Casper lets you try the mattress for 100 nights in your own home. It's risk-free. And they'll come pick it up if you don't love it as much as I love mine and refund you everything, no questions asked. From its breakthrough design to its packaging to letting you try it for 100 nights in your own home, it's no wonder Casper was named one of Fast Company's 50 most innovative brands of 2017. This is no joke. Getting a guaranteed great night's sleep is even easier thanks to the special offer from Casper that I'm going to give you right now. Now through May 30th, you can save $75 on the purchase of your mattress and an additional Casper product at Casper.com when you use the code SAVAGE. Write it down, Casper.com, code SAVAGE for $75 towards the purchase of your mattress. Do it now, and you're going to get an additional Casper product. Get yours today at Casper.com, code SAVAGE. Terms and conditions apply. So the president is doing a great job in the Middle East, and the yellow journalists don't know what to do, so they're focusing on a hand push. They're missing the speech he gave that was so brave and so different from what Hussein did with the bowing the last time. But we got to look for these things on our own and actually see the reality. And the fact is he's doing a great, great, great piece of diplomacy for the world and for world peace. Great job. And as far as the protocol of pushing the hand away gently, big deal. Big deal. That's all they're going to talk about, all the little metros there in the media. That's all they got to talk about. Then Nikki Haley. I mean, well, what's she doing there? She was the governor of South Carolina, and he made her a UN ambassador. She's doing a rotten job, the same as Samantha Power, an out-of-control ambassador. They ought to recall her. Put someone in there who knows diplomacy. There are plenty of skilled diplomats who have some conservative credentials who could do a much better job at maintaining world peace than this bull in a china shop, Samantha, Nikki Haley, whatever. And then the circus, I think, is over. We touched on it. I did the Madoff review, went over like a dirigible made of lead. No one talked about it because most of you don't have HBO. For good reason, you shouldn't. And I didn't mention, by the way, curse words. Every 2 minutes on the HBO Madoff piece was an F word. It was disgusting. It made me tense, and I've heard the words, I've used them. I don't like them on television. It's interesting to me that the ABC special with Dreyfus didn't have to resort to the F word every 3 minutes. But what, De Niro has to play the F word because he's a tough guy from the West Village? Every other word, an F word, F word, F word. Why? Because it was not Madoff that he was interpreting. He was doing himself. He was acting like he would be if he was Madoff. But that's not acting. I got to take my hat off to Dreyfus. Did a much better job. I could watch that a third time, the Dreyfus one. I would never ever recommend you watch the HBO one a first time. Horrible. Where'd they come up with this? How much did they pay these people for? And Michelle Pfeiffer as Mrs. Madoff? Horrible. Terrible. The worst. The first one did a much better job, you see? But this is all blown up because they're the stars of Hollywood, so it has to be great. It wasn't. When I come back, another big hour. Be here or be nowhere. I'm enjoying my pad kee mao with shrimp. You can't believe it. Came during the break. Life is good. People are wonderful, and lunch is terrific.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning, the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
A white sport coat and a pink carnation. I'm all dressed up.
Those are the days.
For the dance.
Imagine a guy put on a white sport coat and a pink carnation dressed up for a dance. So they put on a white dress and a yellow carnation for the dance. Welcome to the show. Crazy world. Everything's upside down. It's the world, according to me, is the best world because it's the only world you can live in. You got to hand it to that guy who came up with that. What was his name? Yankel Pippick, the comedian? Yankel Pippick. Yankel Mason. The world, according to me. That was a great title because it's true. It is the world according to us. We're all narcissists in that regard. And according to me, the world's upside down. That's all. So he goes to the Middle East. He gives a very brave speech. He calls it Islamic terrorism. They love him. And what do the yellow journalists report? She pushes the hand away. That's the lead news. You look at the ratings, too, on top of it all. The antis are doing very well. Look how the antis are doing. They knocked Fox down to number 3 for the first time. Losers like Mad Cow and Schmendra Cooper are beating Fox News. It shows you what they're destroying Fox News. Look what they did to that station. Look what they did to that station. Look what they did to cable news. Take a look at how they killed it. Look what they did to Fox News. You got a loser like Anderson Cooper, as lightweight as they come. You got another nut, the other one, Mad Cow, who I detest. I detest everything about her. Her snide, sneering, collegey, girly attitude gets me nauseous. And yet they're beating Fox News. It just shows you this. O'Reilly replacement Tucker Carlson coming in at number 3. No kidding. What'd you expect from him? There are some great people on Fox News, by the way. I'm not knocking Fox News. They still have a wonderful outlet, but it's being managed in the wrong direction. It's unbelievable to me. Let's see. MSNBC in the top of the week had an average of 760,000 viewers in the year. Let me tell you something about this. I once had a small show on MSNBC. It was a weekend show. It lasted about 3 months. One word I said. I was set up by somebody. I had 850 to 900,000 viewers, if I remember correctly, in that 1 hour. These are not big numbers that they have there, 760. You know, cable numbers are not that big. I had bigger numbers than this. I could get bigger numbers than all of them right now, but they won't touch me. They're terrified of my reality, and they don't want reality. You want to talk about the world according to me? How about the world according to reality? How about the world according to the radio wizard, Michael Savage? You must be joking. All right, so here we are. My insights are good enough on radio. Glad you're listening. So we're talking about the end of the Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey. I asked you to call if you were in the circus as a freak. I'm not doing that in a derogatory manner. You know I have great compassion for people. You know that. I'm using it as a generic term, the freak show. And it was not to mock them. It was an amazement. Going back to the biblical times, why did the Normos always go to see the anomalos? Why would the Normos go to see the anomalos? Because it's human curiosity. People look at people born like with a double nose, let's say. whatever, or the elephant nose, if there was such a creature. There was, I remember when I studied parasitology. When I first opened the parasitology book more than 25 years ago, I used to look at the odd cases of diseases caused by parasites, and one of them was in India of a man who was a diver. He dove in shallow waters for something or other, and he developed what was an elephant nose. It looked like a trunk, a small trunk. It was a parasitic disease. Would you believe it? What could happen to a person from riding on a New York subway car in this day and age? Or drinking seawater in Canarsie? What could happen to the person? Or eating clams in San Francisco? You know, I walked past, with that homeless woman today, try to steal a baby near the bakery. So sometimes I go there. I love to walk by the that old ferry terminal. They made it a beautiful, beautiful place. Bakery, cheesery, this and olive oil. It's like a little mini, like a Pike's Market, a little one. It's very nice. Then they got the things up that show you when the ferries are going. They click like at Penn Station. But on the other side, on the water side, there's restaurants. And one of the restaurants serves basically mussels and clams raw. I look at the people with amazement that they eat such polluted garbage. They don't know what they're eating. Eating them like seagulls. Drinking wine, eating the raw shellfish without any concept of what they're putting in their bodies. It's unbelievable to me how people have lost all balance with regard to food. Trump becomes first sitting U.S. president to visit Western Wall. How could he visit the Western Wall if he's sitting? Okay, that's a joke. But he was actually the first standing U.S. president to visit the Western Wall because he visited the Western Wall while standing, not sitting. You have to understand what that means, sitting U.S. president, meaning other U.S. presidents visited the Western Wall either after or before. He's the first who was in office who visited the Western Wall. I've been there. I've touched the wall. I put the note in. So far, he hasn't answered the note yet. I'm still waiting. Not even an email. I call, I write, I talk to him every day. Nothing, not an email comes back. But all right, I don't give up. His time frame is different than mine. He's actually given me everything I ever asked for, to be honest with you. He knows I'm a jokester. I don't mean Trump. I'm talking about God. God knows our nature. He made us, didn't he? Or he watched us being made. What's my horoscope? The more a would-be business partner tries to convince you that their big idea is risk-free, the more likely it is your cash will go missing if you get involved. Keep your distance and keep your hard-earned dollars in your pocket where they belong. I don't invest, so that's stupid. And I have no business partners, so you can write that one off. Now look at others that are people I know. Never works for them either. They think I'm nuts. Why do I bother sending them their horoscopes every day? Some of them like it, because sometimes they're right. Lately, terrible. Here's good news. Here's the best news of the day. Big game hunter killed when shot elephant collapses on him. Thank God. Thank God that pig was killed by the elephant. That beast from Zimbabwe. A professional hunter was killed when an elephant that had just been shot fell on top of him. Thank God he got crushed to death. I hope he suffered every last second of his life. This bum, this South African big game bagger, Theonis Botha, was leading a hunt in Zimbabwe when his group accidentally walked into the path of a herd of breeding elephants in a national park, and 3 of the elephant cows charged at them. So this killer of animals, this coward, fires at the rampaging pack, but was caught by surprise when a 4th female elephant, they call her a cow, came in from the side and picked him up with a trunk. Good for her. Then they killed her too. Isn't that terrible what these people do? I know, they're culling the herd. Yeah, right. Terrible. He specialized in hunting leopards and lions. And was an expert houndsman, which means he used big packs of dogs to drive deer and boar into hunters' crosshairs. Is it a little too late in human history for this? Is it a little too late to torture animals for sport? Well, when will we ever learn? Okay, whatever. Now you'll call me and say, no, it's the American way. Whatever. Anthony Weiner's world is about to get much smaller. See, it's always a double. Anthony Weiner's world is about to get smaller and sadder. All right, leave him alone already. He's a sick boy. Yes, he should go away, but he's sick. He's very ill. I just wonder if he's going to be put into protective. Thank you, he coughed before bolting into a yellow cab. Pleaded guilty to sexting with a 15-year-old girl in North Carolina. Ugh. Engaged in sick rape fantasies with the girl and urged her to dress up and play at schoolgirl skirts. You hear this? This was a congressman. Was he a protege of Schumer? Is that true, or is that a rumor going around? Is it a conspiracy theory that he was handpicked by Schumer? I want to know. I just need to know. I'm not implying Schumer approves of this behavior. Don't get me wrong. On Friday, as he admitted his guilt and embarrassment to the judge. Soon after leaving federal court, prosecutors threatened 2 years, but he learned that his wife should just file for divorce. What took her so long? Why did she leave him at the last second he's going to the can? Can anyone explain to me why Huma Abedin waited to the last second? Through it all, he enjoyed jogging through his neighborhood, stopping for coffee at Starbucks. Coffee by the box? Who buys coffee by the box in Starbucks? Can anyone explain that to me? You know, that's like wine in a box. And playing with his son in the pool at the huge 600-unit condo he called home. Playing with his son, leave me alone with that one. He used to come to rooftop parties and smile and be happy. Okay? He won't be happy now. They're going to get him a new outfit for prison. And I don't think it's an orange jumpsuit they're going to give him. I don't know. I think he's going into protective. Now Weiner is a virtual hermit. Scorned, derided, broken, alone, but for his mother and father in Brooklyn, his Manhattan restaurateur brother. He doesn't seem to look people in the eye, said Weiner's neighbor. No kidding. He self-consciously just sort of walks away. He sort of walks away. All right. Weiner stopped showing up at local Starbucks. Haven't seen for a while, said Jatwan Parish, blah, blah, blah. One time, pal says he's been avoiding them, blah, blah, blah. He did it to himself, a politician who's been friends with Weiner told the Post on Saturday. I don't think he's going to be able to handle this, his friend said. It's one thing to be a political disgrace, another thing to go to jail for 2 years. You betcha. You know who's doing well in jail, though, is they say Madoff's enjoying himself. He's actually being, according to the latest story, Madoff is such a con man that not only is he enjoying jail, but he's got one of the top mafia dons in the can with him protecting him. Would you believe this? What a con man this guy is. He conned this guy, a murderer, into protecting him, putting out the word, anyone goes near him, you're going to be knocked off. Leave it to Madoff, doing well in prison. He goes card games over what? Greenpeace or something. If they let him out, I'm going to be very upset. Prosecutors are recommending be set to 21 to 27 months. Wait a minute. What sentence? Is he really going to go to jail? I really don't want to hear they let him walk on this. Is he going to jail, or is it just going to be a slap on the wrist because he's highly placed? I don't know. Anthony was in there. Wait, he completes this. Oh, once he completes his sentence, after 21 to 27 months, the big wiener comes out. 21 to 27 months. So that's like a 2-year job. I don't know this guy in jail for 2 years, but if he's in protective, how will the other Deeves handle him is the question. I don't know. That's the question. Will the other Deeves accept him as another one of them, like in a freak show, or will they actually reject him? Will they look up to him? It's an interesting question. He's going to be scared to death in there. After a September 8th hearing, Weiner will attend the hearing in front of his federal sentencing judge to determine at what sex offender level the state of New York will monitor him over the course of these 2 decades. 2 decades. I guarantee you 50 women would like to marry him. They're probably going to propose to him in jail. Nuts. There are crazy people out there. Weiner could be judged at a level 2 moderate risk or level 3 high risk offender, and the judge could keep him on the registry for life. New York is not very easygoing on these types of crimes, so it's very possible he could land up there for life, said Freed. They'll plea it out. He's not going to get life. So I was very offended not only by what he did, but by the child next to him. I'm sorry, the child should have been taken away by protective services. All right, they gave it to the mother, fine. She didn't have anything to do with it. Weiner is an internet troll. So what are you going to do with the internet? He can't have a computer? No iPhone? Was he going to have a flip phone like from the 1980s? He's going to get like an old phone. Like I could sell him my old flip phone that I have at a discount. You can't get anything on it. No, nothing dirty on that. It's impossible. You can barely text on those things. You go blind. You can't text. You can't erase nothing. They were good. And no one could trace you here on those. That's why they're very popular in certain districts in New York. They buy 6 of them a day if they can still find them somewhere. They make one call and throw it in the trash. Take out the SIM card and throw it in the garbage can. About 5 years ago, I was on the roof of a building that I occasionally live in San Francisco off and on. And there's a guy from New York. And he saw me in the elevator with the flip phone. He laughed. He said, we have those in New York. He said, we buy 6 a day and throw them in the can. I like that phone. I get reception in elevators with it. It's I forget the type it is. I get it on the other table. He's hunted, Anthony Weiner. I don't feel bad for him. I don't hate him. I don't hate him. I don't feel bad for him, but I pity him. I have pity for him. I have what's called pity for the man. You look at him and you know what kind of boy he was. He was very sick. His whole life he was a sick kid. If I had him as a friend, we would probably have not shunned him so much as kind of protected him. this kind of personality. We wouldn't have picked on him, but we would have known what he's like and would have said, look, you don't do that stuff around us, but just, watch it. But nobody would have. Why did she marry this? Well, it was political marriage. I'm answering my own question. Crotch shot publicly on his Twitter page. She married him for politics. And now he's going to go away. That's all. I bet he never expected this. When that day comes when you give it all up and you walk in there, I can't imagine that they treat you like a piece of garbage. You ever see that movie with Gerard Depardieu called Welcome to New York? That's one of the most unsung movies of modern history. You talk about great movies. Wow. He's a diplomat based on a true story, and when they arrest him and he gets put into the... Well, I ran out of time already. That coffee and the pad Kimau, I never felt so good. I don't want the show to come to an end, so I'll be back in a minute to be with you. Be here.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
I don't want to leave the show today. I'm afraid of the world outside of radio right now. I love the world of radio. I love it. I do it well. There's no one better. I'm the wizard of radio. I enjoy it. I work so hard to be able to do this. I don't want to leave. Outside, there's very little. I had a good lunch, thank God. But after the Oscopy, the whole world is different to me. A totally different world. God's given me extra years now, and I have to figure this out. Now, why is Fox collapsing? Why are they number 3 to those two losers on CNN and those Meerskites on MSNBC and CNN? Garbage, lowlifes. And yet Fox is collapsing. Why? Diana, KSFO, why? Why is Fox falling apart?
Because we're living our lives. I used to tune into Fox News 24/7. And now with Donald Trump being there, it's like we're relieved. We're content with having him in there, and every time...
Interesting. That's a totally different... Hold it. You have so defined why Fox is in trouble. So it's not the loss of O'Reilly. It's the fact that you feel that your man is in the White House, we won the election, and now you want to move on.
Exactly. We're working on our yards, we're fixing...
All right, hold on now, but wait a minute. Then why are you listening to me?
You are my Pope. I listen to you every day on my iPhone in my kitchen, and I drive my husband crazy. But because you're my guy, I could tune in and listen to you and hear the truth as opposed to some of these Fox News shows that have to talk about Russia, even though it's a bunch of...
No. Well, in other words, I give you a little entertainment value.
Yeah, and I am a Savage Ed. I've been one for many years. I got to tell you.
I'm a part of your mental geography. I get it. I've been in your life for so long. I'm like part of your head. So, in other words, I don't have to do politics. Look what I've done today. Ringling Brothers, The Hand, from my perspective, the brush off. Where could you get that other than from me? Nowhere. Well, my darling listener, the Radio Wizard, is sending you Trump's War, his latest best-selling book. I love talking in the third person. It's fun. It's very childish. The Radio Wizard is sending you Trump's War. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
So, Ringling Brothers, the greatest show on earth, finished, kaput, no more. End of a unique way of life for the world, America. The real story that you're not talking about in the newspapers is this. Suspect to cops. I killed 2 roommates for disrespecting my Muslim faith. He's a former Nazi, an American Nazi who became a Muslim. Hello? I wonder how that works. How did a man who was formerly a Nazi become a Muslim? What is the connection there? Oh, there is none? Okay. Killed 2 roommates because they don't like Muslims. All right, whatever. Dock officials blame parents of girl dragged in water by sea lion. You've all seen that one. Did you see the sea lion thing on TV? The girl gets pulled in by... People are stupid. They think that wild animals are pets. They talk to it like, oh, honey, look, here's a piece of bread. That's like going into a gorilla cage and think it's just a monkey. Did you see the video of the incident on Saturday? When the girl sits down with the little white dress and a 1,000-pound sea lion rips her into the water. What struck me most about it is the Chinese guy who jumped in the water and saved her. He didn't even scream like, "Oh my God!" or call 911. This Chinese guy is some hero. I don't know who he is. Like Bruce Lee. Like a 135-pound tourist leaps in. Was it his daughter or not? I don't think, but she gets pulled in by a sea lion. No, there's no blood on her, thank God. And who is this hero? This guy is a hero. Unbelievable to me. Massive marine animal snaps at the pig-tailed tot, drags her into the water by her dress, and he jumps in and saves her. That's astounding. These are wild animals. You know, many years ago during the hippie era, I knew a stoner who was on LSD who went into the gorilla cage at the Honolulu Zoo because she thought she could talk to gorillas. She got mauled to death. You know how many sick people there are out there who don't know what they're talking about? And now Trump's Russian connection and other crimes. I know you're not going to like this, but here we go on the Savage Nation. Do you remember when Donald Trump was business partners with the Russian government and his company got $53 million from the Russian government investment fund called Rusnano that was started by Vladimir Putin and is referred to as Putin's child? Oh, wait, that wasn't Trump. It was John Podesta. Sorry. Remember when Donald Trump received $500,000 for a speech in Moscow and paid for by Renaissance Capital, a company tied to Russian intelligence agencies? Oh, wait, that wasn't Donald Trump. That was Bill Clinton. Remember when Donald Trump approved the sale of 20% of U.S. uranium to the Russians while he was Secretary of State, which gave control of it to Rosatom, the Russian State Atomic Energy Corporation? Oh, wait, that wasn't Trump. That was Hillary Clinton. Remember when Donald Trump lied about that and said he wasn't a part of approving the deal that gave the Russians 1/5 of our uranium stores? But then his emails were leaked showing he did lie about it. Oh, wait. That was Hillary Clinton and John Podesta. Remember when Donald Trump got $145 million from shareholders of the uranium company sold to the Russians? Oh, wait, that wasn't Donald Trump. That was Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation. You Trump bashers, pay attention. Remember when Donald Trump accepted millions in donations from Russian oligarchs? Like the chairman of a company that's part of the Russian nuclear research cluster, the wife of the mayor of Moscow and a close pal of Putin? Oh, wait, that was the Clinton Foundation. And remember when Donald Trump failed to disclose all those donations before becoming the Secretary of State and was only found out when a journalist went through Canadian tax records? Oh, wait, that was Hillary Clinton. So all you Trump bashers, wake up before it's too late. You've lost your credibility before you woke up today. I don't think I'm going to talk much about Melania in the Middle East because she is so gracious. She makes me proud to be an American just to watch her grace walk majestically amongst the Arabs who are so in love with her they don't know what to do. And one thing about the Arabs you got to understand is they have very good taste in women. No, she's a great first lady, very elegant, and she's certainly knocking it out of the park. We got a winner, by the way, on Who Said Courage is Doing What You Are Afraid to Do. Yes, it was the World War I ace, Eddie Rickenbacker, who was an automobile racer, a famous one, before he went into World War I and became an aviation ace, shooting down more German planes than anyone else in the U.S. Air Force. And he said, courage is doing what you were afraid to do. That struck me as so incredibly inspiring, because many of us have fears. Well, all of us have fears is the point. But many of us have learned to overcome our fears. And the rest of us have the fears and think we're cowards. Did you hear? In other words, we have fears and we are intimidated by our fears, and it thinks that it makes us cowardly to have fears. But all people have fears. Some people overcome them, and they become courageous, and that could go from the small to the large. Whether you're intimidated to make a dinner party, but you say, I don't have the skills, or enlist in the military and take on the worst vermin the planet has seen since Hitler. It ranges all the way up and down the line. Or you say, I would like to have children, but I don't have the courage to have children. I'm afraid that I wouldn't be a good father or a good mother. Courage is doing what you are afraid to do. I remember that very well from my childhood, not so much today. At this point, I'm more reactive than I am contemplative about things of that nature. But the thing is that when I was growing up, I had friends who I thought were much more courageous than me. And one of them once said to me, do you think I'm not afraid? He said, I just overcome the fear and do it. I also heard that from a world-famous comedian when I was young. When I went up to him, I won't mention his name because his name isn't that important, even though he really is famous and very talented, even though he's a political schmendrick. I said to him, how do you get up in front of that crowd? Aren't you afraid? He said, of course I am. He said, you just get up and do it. This should encourage all of you out there who want to do something but are afraid to do it. You get it? We have more news for you. The country's out of control. Who are you going to blame? The idiots in the media? 6 things to watch in Trump's budget. Is Melania swatting the president's hand away? That's what passes for journalism? A freak show had more interest for me than the freaks in the news business today. That's what they got nothing else to write about. Did you hear this story? You want to hear irony? IndyCar drivers, Scott Dixon, and retired racer Dario Franchitti are driving through a Taco Bell at 10 o'clock at night in Indianapolis, and they're held up at gunpoint. You hear this? Are you listening to this? Their wife is in the car, one of the wives, in Indianapolis, at a drive-thru. Look at the country we're living in. Police say they arrested 2 teens, age 14 and 15, in connection with the robbery of credit cards and other personal valuables from Dixon, his wife, and Franchitti. Both teens were charged with robbery. Maybe they go to work for the Clinton Foundation. And the 15-year-old was charged with resisting law enforcement. Oh, really? While they were ordering with their window down at Taco Bell, 2 guys, no picture of them, because they're juveniles or teens, approached at gunpoint, held a gun at Dixon's head. Can you imagine ordering a taco and having a gun put to your head? Can you believe this? 4-time IndyCar Series champion. Why are IndyCar drivers going to Taco Bell to begin with? What, do you need an armored car now to go into Taco Bell in Indianapolis? I guess the police are intimidated to doing their job after the war on police under Hussein. Remember I told you San Francisco's living through a horrible crime wave? Well, there was just a suspected kidnapping of a 3-year-old child at the Ferry Building right next to my favorite bread place. And you know who did it? Mother and child are visiting from out of town, Missouri. A 3-year-old boy is snatched right out of his mother's arms by a homeless piece of garbage and runs away. The homeless piece of garbage was a woman in her 30s. And the episode happens this morning at 9:30. The transient woman, now these people are so dangerous. If you had any idea that don't get me started on the homeless. They're not homeless. They're not homeless. This is not the right word for them. And we'll leave it at that. So the homeless woman, transient, the sicko, comes up to the mother and son and exchanges words with them. Then the, quote, stranger grabs the boy. The mother fights with her. 2 brave employees from the nearby Golden Gate Meat Company race over and hold the woman down, which I'm surprised at in San Francisco that they wouldn't have already attacked the mother. Because, you know, the homeless people here are the sacred cows. You understand that. You ask anyone from out of town, this city stinks to high heaven. Feces, urine, violence everywhere you turn. And they're violent, most of them. It was just strange, said Steve Bourne, an employee at a vegan donut shop, who witnessed the attempted abduction and subsequent takedown. The homeless woman just came up and grabbed a baby. So here's the vegan donut shop guy, doesn't do anything, but the meat company people race over and hold the woman down. You hear? Look at the difference right here. Right here you see the whole difference. Vegan donut shop man. He sees the abduction and does nothing. He says it's weird. The other ones from the meat company who have some food in them from the meat company run over and hold down the garbage. But you see, in this sick city, instead of putting this woman away for attempting a kidnapping, they'll tell us to have sympathy for her. You talk about a freak show? Just come to San Francisco anytime you want. Try to enjoy a meal down in that area by Ferry Plaza and see what goes on there with the skateboarded potheads, the drug addicts that almost run you down, the bicyclists almost kill you, the needles, the filth. Yeah, okay, you don't need a freak show anymore. What a country we're living in. Why don't they just round up the homeless, give them the care that they need, put them in work camps, force them to work for the money that they use for drugs? Answer, because then there'd be no money for drugs and it wouldn't filter up the ladder. That's all. Any other questions? Big customers for the drug trade. You don't want that to come to an end. So, and there's your answer. There's an answer to everything. An answer to everything. Everything's upside down in San Francisco. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
So there's a lot of balls in the air. There's a lot of topics. Now they're making a big deal. Trump goes triumphantly to Saudi Arabia. Wows them. Melania wows them. Now he's in Israel. So what do the schmucks in the media do? Melania does not really want to hold Donald's hand. That's their big news story. Can you figure this one out? Why that's such a big deal? They get off Air Force One, fly in from Riyadh. They're landing now in Tel Aviv. Come down on the plane, and she slaps his hand away after the couple touches down in Israel. Why is that such a big deal? He was reaching out to touch her, and she wasn't in the mood. She's a woman. It's not like she's mad at him. I see this a different way. Why do they have to do a thing like this and make this the whole... This now is bigger than his triumphant tour of Saudi Arabia. You hear this? Because of the schmendricks in the media. Video shows the Donald reaching for Melania's hand as they walked along the tarmac after disembarking from AF-1 as they land in Tel Aviv. Melania is dressed in sunglasses and a sharp white pencil skirt and blazer, and she can be seen just gently swatting his hand away. So what is the big deal there? Probably had a better time in Saudi Arabia than he's going to have in Israel with the Meshuggahs over in Israel right now. Oh, you can't believe the stuff they're writing about him before he got there. Calling him every name under the sun. They cooled to him already in Israel. Israelis worry Trump's changing stand looks more and more like Obama's. All right, then they got all the kvetches in Israel. They don't like anybody in Israel. They don't like themselves. Every day they wake up with like dyspepsia and complaining about something. So now they don't like Trump that much. So that's all. He's like any politician said, Shlamit Levran, an art student at Hebrew U. They say one thing, and then after they're elected, they do another. I see no difference. Trump and Obama, they want the same thing, said Eli Adler, a 60-year-old shopkeeper in downtown Jerusalem. They just serve it up in a different dish. You know, cynicism, by the way, has more than a tinge of truth in it. Adler says he doesn't think Trump and his deal-maker reputation will prove any more effective than Obama was in bringing a resolution to the decades-long Israeli-Palestinian standoff. Decades-long? It's biblical. You know, it's like Cain and Abel. Nothing's going to happen over there. If you raise your children to kill Jews, what do you want to have? Give them a state next to you so they can kill your children? What do you want the Israelis to do? Okay, I know. They stole the land. That's coming now from the leftists. Why don't you give your house away to a Native American? Go out and look for a Native American over there in Berkeley and give your house away to someone whose land that you stole it from. I love it. Big to tell the Jews what to do with their life. All right, whatever. So he's there now. Then what? Then he goes on to the Pope. Then he goes on to Sicily. That's the one part I miss. I wish I was... Is the state dinner in Sicily. That's the one thing is the food's got to be better than anywhere. How good could the food be in Saudi Arabia? I don't know what they don't look like they're healthy. They don't live that long, despite all the pampering. They're miserable. First of all, they don't walk. It's too hot. Everything they do is like by car, jet. They live degenerate lives. They fly to London. You know what they do to the hotels over there? Have you heard anything from the hotel owners in England, what they do when they fly in, the princes? They like cook a lamb on the floor in the best hotel. They burn the rug in the wood, then they pay for it. They throw like $1 million down to... Anyway. And there's the Anthony Weiner thing. What are you going to say about that? He was in good shape for a perv. I wonder how he kept in such good shape. We'll see what shape he's in after a month in the slammer. Will they put him in protective? I wonder if Anthony Weiner gets a protective. If I were him, I'd grow a beard immediately. He got busted. Finally, they're putting him away. I'm sorry. The crotch shot with the child next to him, this is nothing what they gave him. The child should have been taken away, number one. And number two, well, you don't want to hear anything about it because he's a Democrat. So they land in Tel Aviv on Air Force One, walk down there, and she pushes the hand away. I told you what it was. It wasn't conjugal. It was cultural, period. She knew that it was wrong. If they held hands in front of Orthodox, it'd be like a big thing. That's it. So they're turning it into, she doesn't want to be president's wife. She wants to be somewhere. What stupid people in the media are there? I can't believe it. But since they're in Israel, maybe I should give you some Yiddish words. You don't know this. This is an interesting fact of life right now in America, which is that in the 1930s, Yiddish was spoken by more than 10 million people. By the way, what is Yiddish? It's a combination of Hebrew words with Low German words, to put it bluntly. And 10 million people in America spoke this language. And many of them were in New York, by the way. But by 1945, 75% of them were gone. However, many of the words were written into the American vernacular and popular culture, and people don't even know what they mean. Some of you use these words and you don't even know where they come from. I'm not going to read you like you've all heard the word kosher, saying like, oh, that's not kosher, that is kosher. Well, that means what's acceptable to Orthodox Jews, especially with food, right? It's like halal to the Arab, kosher to the Jew, right? Kosher. But it's taken on another meaning entirely, which is it clean, or is it honest? Or you say, that doesn't sound kosher. It means it doesn't sound honest, right? Or you heard the word kvetch when I think of Wolf Blitzer. That means to complain or to whine. That's Wolf Blitzer.
Savage.